Looking back on it, reviving Sam and Max for a whole new generation was just a huge gamble. Not only were Telltale Games betting their entire company on the long-dormant series, but it was a follow-up to a genre that had largely fallen out of favor in the 1990s. And if the deck wasn't fully stacked against them, they were also using the crime-fighting duo to introduce the world to the concept of episodic games, something that was completely unheard of in 2006. Look, this could have gone bad in like 1,000 different ways. Thankfully, the strong writing, great voice acting, and bite-sized chunks made the first Sam and Max season a hit, allowing Telltale to expand their point-and-click library with episodic games based on everything from Back to the Future to Batman to, of course, The Walking Dead. They also continued the Sam and Max story with 2 more seasons, both better written and more engaging than the last. We've already seen remastered collections of both Sam and Max Save the World and Beyond Time and Space, so there's really only one more place to go, and that is the Devil's Playhouse. Is this third and final chapter in the Sam and Max trilogy as good as I remember it being 14 years ago? Well, that's what we're about to find out when I review the remastered collection of Sam and Max, The Devil's Playhouse. I'm gonna just assume that you've played the first 2 Sam and Max seasons, either back in the day or in the recent remastered collections. If you haven't, then don't worry, this season does a surprisingly good job of standing on its own. Sure, you'll miss a lot of the long-running in-jokes, and you're probably gonna be a little confused why Max is now the President of the United States of America, but you're still gonna have a great time with several of Sam and Max's most deliciously clever episodes. The season kicks off in just the most exciting way possible. General Skunk Ape, or as he prefers to be called Skunkape, has kidnapped our favorite crime-fighting duo, fallen in love with girl Stinky, and is using a spaceship to find the Devil's Toy Box. Things are looking bad for our heroes, but maybe there's hope. When Max realizes that he has psychic powers, it allows the freelance police to gain an incredibly important edge over the villainous space ape. Maybe, just maybe, if Sam and Max can solve a bunch of obtuse puzzles, they'll be able to live to see another case. That's the season's exciting gimmick. For reasons that are eventually revealed in later episodes, Max is able to use a series of toys with psychic powers. These toys come from, you guessed it, the Devil's Toy Box, the thing that literally everybody is trying to get their hands on. Some of the powers associated with their toys actually make some sense, like the plastic telephone that can warp our heroes to different phone numbers. There's also a ventriloquist dummy that allow you to throw your voice into both people and objects, as well as a can of nuts that Sam and Max can shrink and hide in. Some of the other toys make a little less sense, but are still useful, such as a deck of playing cards that allow you to read other people's minds. The great thing about these psychic powers is they finally give us something to do with Max. With rare exception, Max has always been that tag-along character who does little more than spit out silly and extremely dark one-liners. Now he has a real purpose and feels like an equal, even if you're still mostly controlling Sam. Most of the puzzles and scenarios are built around using Max's newfound powers, and I really do like how it gets worked into the series' overarching story. And one of the smart things this game does is that it doesn't over-rely on those powers. 3 seasons in, and it was clear that Telltale Games felt like they had the freedom to experiment with the point-and-click genre's tropes. Every episode had its own unique framing device or gameplay mechanic, some of which was genuinely innovative. A great example of that is the second episode, where the whole conceit is that you're playing the ancestors of Sam and Max in an old silent movie. We can actually change between 4 different film reels at any time, which means that you'll need to go back and forth, even out of order, to learn the information to complete each of the different reels and solve the case. This is just a whole new layer on top of the typical point-and-click formula, and I really love how Telltale was trying to shake things up from episode to episode. Variety is something this season is really good at. Not just with the puzzles and the gameplay, but also with the different types of stories that are being told. It runs the gamut from horror to adventure to revenge, doing that careful balancing act where it can go from scary to comedic to surprisingly sentimental in a blink of an eye. I honestly don't know if this season was originally designed to be the finale, but it definitely works as a proper goodbye to these beloved heroes. These 5 episodes remind us why we love these characters, including the weird and wacky supporting cast around them. The Devil's Playhouse gives the duo a chance to not only do what they do best, but also try out a bunch of new toys. The whole thing concludes with a pitch-perfect ending that is both satisfying and emotional. Oh, and did I mention that the season is incredibly funny? Here I got all wrapped up in the psychic powers, the innovative puzzles, and the sentimental story, and I forgot to mention that the Devil's Playhouse had me howling with laughter from start to finish. The jokes don't feel as dated as I worried they might be. I especially love the narrator, a Rod Serling type that pops up here and there throughout the story. The game also does a great job playing with the styles, bouncing between light and playful, to dark and scary, to silent movie. The Sam & Max franchise has always been good about its noir aesthetic, and I just love how this season tinkers with that in a number of exciting ways. Now let me tell you, this remastered version looks spectacular. When compared to the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions released 14 years ago, the characters look sharper, the animation is better, and the backgrounds pop like never before. This really is the best Sam & Max has ever looked. And I like that it doesn't feel like a slap-together upgrade. If you're going to experience the Devil's Playhouse, this remaster is really the only way to go. Now, that said, I did run into a couple of small issues while playing the game. I found that it's sometimes a little difficult to move Sam around with the controller. He'll hit a lot of invisible walls and then get caught up in parts of the background. This is especially bad in the more cramped locations, which seem to dominate this season for some reason. There's also a puzzle in the second episode that just broke for me. I was supposed to pick up a love letter, but the letter just never appeared. I finally had to restart that part of the chapter in order to pick up the letter. Yeah, that's a little disappointing. Thankfully, the rest of the game delivers where it counts. This is not just a great season of Sam & Max, but it's also a fitting finale for the entire series. It's an example of Telltale games at their absolute best, giving us 5 episodes that are every bit as inventive as they are fun. This final season is also hilarious, scary, exciting, and surprisingly sweet. The Devil's Playhouse is proof that the Sam & Max gamble paid off for all of us. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll use psychic powers in a bunch of completely inappropriate ways. Yeah, that's Sam & Max the Devil's Playhouse in a nutshell. This final season brings a renewed energy and freedom to be as weird, crazy, and inventive as possible. Every single episode is filled with moments that'll stick with you, and the whole thing wraps up with a pitch-perfect ending that toes the line between being funny and sentimental. The Devil's Playhouse is easily the best season of Sam & Max, and it's never looked better than it does with this brand new remaster. If you missed out 14 years ago, then now is your chance to discover one of the best point-and-click adventure games of the 21st century. You're not going to be disappointed. Hey, thanks for watching my review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite point-and-click game or series? Between the classic LucasArts and Sierra adventures to the more recent Telltale titles, there really are a lot to choose from. Let me know your picks in the comments below. In other news, well look, I've been a little sick over the last few days, so I've had to push things back. I'm hoping to have another review up this week, as well as something for Friday. We'll see if that happens. While you wait on pins and needles for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Till then,